Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Throne of Steel episode number 206 based on novel. So let's start. However, the Devil clan suffered a greater loss because of Mo Dao Cannon and the initial attacking of it. Thus, the Devils were no longer in the upper hand as before. Each Mo Dao Cannon was controlled by a specialist, and once it found the enemy, it shot. When the third round of the cannons were launched, the Devil's death count exceeded 500. Though the last two rounds of the launch did not bring that much damage to the Devils, some could not hide or escape quickly. With the Mo Dao Cannon, even the Devil Dragon army consisting of 3 level 9 Devils was greatly influenced. High above in the air, Long Haochen and the God of Devils domain clash went to the extreme. A black hole of 30 meters in diameter appeared between the dark golden light and white light. At the edge of the hole, one half was white and another half was dark gold. Its huge pressure oppressed both Long Haochen and the God of Devils. The gap between them too now was apparent. The swords in Long Haochen's hands were shaking, but the God of Devils was still very calm. And he did not use any weapons. But the God of Devils said nothing. He was determined to defeat Long Haochen first and then make him surrender. Long Haochen's words just now hurt him deeply. It was about his death in the Devil Tower. The God of Devils already had a plan. As the leader, he had many secret magic skills. One was the power to eliminate spiritual memory. He knew that it was impossible for Long Haochen to surrender now. He then would choose another way and make a new personality and soul out of him and make him the inheritor of the Devil clan. His plan was to defeat Long Haochen first and then erase his memory and spirit stamp but keep his level. Then, the God of Devils would infuse his power of blood into Long Haochen's body and take Yi Xiaolei's power away from him and make her his own goddess. The final goal was to make himself a real god and have Long Haochen inherit his throne. The process could be very hard and complicated, but the God of Devils was confident. Not only because he had the power, but also because he had enough time. To train Long Haochen to a high level was much better than waiting for Po to recover. And Po's personality was not suitable to inherit the throne. Long Haochen did not know what the God of Devils was thinking. After the violent spiritual fluctuation just now, he already made up his mind. No matter what, he would fight for humankind. He would not retreat even if he had the God of Devils' blood. He would fight for thousands of humans to regain their control of the land and end 6,000 years of Dark Age. He was willing to even kill his relatives and sacrifice his own life. Therefore, Long Haochen was more determined than ever, and that spirit in his eyes even made the God of Devils nervous. Long Haochen was not able to hold up in the clash as the black hole continued to grow. It finally exceeded his range. He turned the swords around and an intensive golden light exploded again. The black hole exploded as Long Haochen took away his domain power. It was only 30 meters wide at the beginning, as it did not blossom when the two sides were clashing together. Now Long Haochen's power went away and the hole exploded and the sky turned dark. It was because the God of Devils was still putting in his power of domain, which resulted in the hole's attack towards Long Haochen. If Long Haochen could not hold against it, then he would be swallowed into it. However, Long Haochen remained calm, and he already had a plan when withdrawing his domain. He pointed the Sword of Eternity towards the sky, and the 3 white balls surrounding the Armor of Eternity were used for the first time. The white glows quietly fell on the magic stone of eternity, and then his body disappeared. Of the 3 light balls, the green one represented the spokesman of Lord of Nature Eastern's king, the 7-colored one represented the sacred dragon, and the white one represented Eternal's angel. And the 3 strong men in the domain of eternity each represented the power of nature, creatures, and stars of the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation. Long Haochen used the power of stars, the strongest one this time. Though it was not the last skill of the 3 swords of eternity, it was one of the strongest powers bestowed by the throne. The moment Long Haochen's body disappeared, the hole's power stopped. The God of Devils felt something strange, as if Long Haochen became the sky. He was a bit stunned even at his level by the strange feeling, and he put his power into full play. A dark blue lightning instant turned to shield and came in front of him. The next moment, the black hole turned around and faced towards him instead. There was an explosion. The terrifying power struck the God of Devils and his body trembled. The God of Devils did not expect Long Haochen to be able to do something like this, and his domain was forced to face the black hole. However, the dark golden dragon suddenly rose up with his 1,000 meters long body, and the God of Devils retreated under the explosion. The black hole expanded very quickly but was still slower than the dragon, which completely prevented the hole from further expanding and sealed it by force. The space which was torn apart was recovering. Long Houchen appeared on the way of the god of devils and pointed his sword of eternity at him. Behind his back, countless stars shone. The starlights became a huge angel picture and the background of the whole sky. The day turned to night and the lights there seemed to light up the hope. The sword of eternity was like the sword of guidance, and thousands of streams of starlights converged and turned to a huge light pillar, running towards God of Devils, who lost the protection of dark golden dragon. The God of Devils' face was solemn, as he felt the heavy pressure for the first time. The huge anti-heaven devil dragon beamed a wavering dark golden light and shrank to a much smaller size. A layer of dark golden armor appeared in the air. The God of Devils stepped out and the armor turned to black and was shining brightly and covered his body quietly. The dark golden armor was even more elegant than Long Houchen's armor of eternity. A dark blue diamond was in the center of the black headband, which also had lightning inside. The God of Devils' black hair was tied at top and a neck guard protected his pure white neck. The pauldrons were in the shape of dragon wings and pointed high above. In his chest, a huge dark blue diamond lay in the center. On the two sides of the waist, black thorns pointed and shone with a dark golden light. The thorns spiraled downwards, becoming the war gown of the God of Devils. His legs were protected by dragon scales. The dragon wings covered at the two sides of his legs, pointing upwards. He did not have wings but instead had a huge dark blue cape dropping down from the pauldrons, covering his long figure. A huge sword appeared at his back and it was even bigger than the God of Devils' body. Its length exceeded 2 meters and the sword hilt was 1 meter long with a sword width of 1 meter. The sword had no decorations at all. But it was not a simple sword, not when it was on the God of Devils' back. Confronted with the last strike of the 3 swords of eternity, the God of Devils used devil deification, brought by the anti-heavenly devil pillar. And when the armor covered his body, Long Houchen and all those who fought on the ground felt as if a pair of scary eyes were staring at them. The God of Devils did not use the sword, and when the armor covered his body, his eyes, as well as the diamond in his chest and forehead, shone with a dark blue light. He lifted up his right hand and Long Houchen found out that in the center of God of Devils' handguard was a blue diamond. The diamond shone brightly and starting from the palm, a light cover of dark blue and dark gold appeared. In the shape of a half-ball, it protected the God of Devils' body in the front. Boom! The sky turned white and the strong power of the stars even made the holy night of starry sky startled, and he looked up. His own domain of stars was boosted and killed a moon devil of rank 9 instantly. The sky of white light shocked all devils and their morale declined. Even the moon devil god and star devil god looked up at the sky after pushing their opponents far away. The power full of stars and light obviously did not belong to the God of Devils. And the whole sky had turned white, which could only prove that the power of Long Houchen had the absolute upper hand at this moment. The incandescent color in the sky lasted for a minute, during which the strong humans launched a counterattack with all their strength to suppress the dominant devils. There were even 7 9th-level devils who had fallen in this powerful human counterattack. The white gradually faded, and high up in the air, Long Houchen and the God of Devils reappeared. The glittering white light faded slowly. Long Houchen gasped a little, and the heart of eternity beat violently, helping him restore a great deal of consumed spiritual power. At the same time, it was also a step further to enhance the power that he could explode at this time. However, there was a hint of horror in his eyes. Long Houchen could not help but be appalled. When he confronted the God of Devils in Domain, he had already figured out the tactics. In the confrontation of Domain, he had indeed done his best, and he realized that he was really not the opponent of the God of Devils. However, at the last critical moment, Long Houchen reversed the situation through the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation. The ability to turn the black hole attack to the opposite direction in that moment came from the eternal angel's control of the sky and stars. And when the God of Devils had to let the devil dragon guards fight the power of the black hole, it was clearly his weakest moment, and Long Houchen also casted the last strike of the 3 swords of eternity, the eternal star. If he were to succeed at something, it was that he successfully forced out the demonization of the God of Devils, and finally saw the assistance of the anti-heavenly dragon's pillar for the God of Devils, which increased his level. But he also saw how terrifying the God of Devils was in a complete state. The power of eternal stars was the strongest attack he had ever made. The thousands of stars were fixed at one point and released with the sword of eternity. The horror of this power was enough to change the color of heaven and earth. However, the God of Devils only raised one hand. He didn't even use the giant sword behind him. The light of eternal stars did occupy the whole sky, but only the area where the god of devils was located was not affected. Even the black gold dragon that converged the black hole disappeared quietly before the arrival of the eternal stars, as if it directly integrated into the anti-heavenly dragon's armor. Lifting his right hand slowly down, the god of devils nodded to Long Houchen with a serious face and said, "You shocked me again." Unexpectedly, the power of the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation is so powerful. It is worthy of the existence of an imperial weapon. Unfortunately, you are not strong enough to give full play to its power. Otherwise, it may really have the power to fight me. But right now, you can't. As he spoke, the god of devils suddenly moved, and his aura disappeared completely in the powerful perception of Long Houchen at the moment his body started. And when he appeared at that moment, he had already come to Long Houchen's side. The index finger of his right hand pointed directly to the divine stone of eternity on Long Houchen's chest. Melee? Long Houchen's combat experience was also extremely rich. In the face of the sudden attack of the god of devils, his body moved slightly sideways. At the same time, the left hand released the sword of king, while his palm grabbed the god of devils' right index finger quickly like lightning. In such a close battle, the length of the weapon could only be an obstacle, and the intensity of the collision between the two sides was by no means inferior to that with a divine weapon. What was more, the sword of king released by Long Houchen instantly turned 360 degrees in the air, and the sword shone with all kinds of colors and severely chopped into the neck of the god of devils. The god of devils did not dodge. He let Long Houchen grab the index finger of his right hand and let Long Yating's sword of king chop his neck guard. When the both of them came into contact, Long Houchen suddenly felt that the god of devils seemed to be twisted. Then his index finger burst into a terrifying force. Just for a moment, Long Houchen felt that his left hand was completely paralyzed, and the feeling of paralysis spread all over his body along the palm of his hand. The eternal armor had fully filtered this power, but his body was still temporarily paralyzed. Then, under the grip of Long Houchen, the finger of the god of devils was still on the divine stone of eternity on his chest. There was no sound, but it looked even scarier. It was because a layer of black instantly invaded the divine stone of eternity, driving away the dark green produced by the beating heart of eternity. This black also spread to the whole body of the eternal armor of Long Houchen in an instant along with the divine stone of eternity. As for Yating's sword, at the moment of standing on the neck guard of the god of devils, a low and even some hoarse sound of the dragon suddenly sounded from the black giant sword behind the god of devils. Then, huge suction unexpectedly pulled Yating's giant sword close and it was tightly glued to the black giant sword. A trace of black air gathered from the giant sword rigidly imprisoned Yating on the black sword's body. What was even more frightening was that the body of the black sword began to show signs of melting, and Yating's sword of king slowly integrated into its body, and it looked as if the black sword was going to swallow Yating up. However, at this time, Long Houchen could not help Yating at all. He only felt that his body was completely paralyzed. At the same time, there was an indescribable coldness spreading to his body. Even his left hand that was holding the god of devils' index finger unknowingly loosened and slipped. The divine stone of eternity had completely turned black, and they looked at each other very close. In the eyes of the god of devils, there was a release of cruelty and coldness, but also a determination. The dark golden light on his body did not turn pitch black, and only the two dark blue gems on his forehead and chest retained their original luster. Do you think that with the recognition of the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation, you will be able to compete with me? No, you're wrong. Although your practice level is not weak, compared with me, it is not at all the same level. I'm already a demigod. With the help of the anti-heavenly dragon's pillar, I am a real god. The imperial weapon is called the weapon of God, but in fact, it is an imperial weapon only if it is in the hands of a real god. And you are not qualified to have them. I will deprive the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation from you and separate it from your body. Although I cannot completely destroy an imperial weapon with my power, I can send it into the turbulence of time and space and let it wander to another world. Do you feel the coldness? This is the attack of darkness on you. No matter how pure your light is, light will still be covered by absolute darkness. But don't worry, I won't let you die. When I turn your light into darkness, the goddess of nature will also be in my bag. And your memory will be erased by me and you will become a devil again. I will still support you to be my heir, or even the heir of this anti-heavenly dragon's pillar. And anew you will take the place of me, as the ruler of the continent and the companions and human beings you are familiar with. With these words, the look of the god of devils gradually became more and more ferocious, and his eyes became more and more crazy in the coldness. The entire breastplate had become black. And the cold feeling was frantically stimulating Long Hao-Chen's body, and even the beating of the heart of eternity seemed to have stopped at this moment. The power of God. Is this really the power of God? The persistence in Long Hao-Chen's heart did not make him despair, but fully mobilized all his strength to try to resist. However, the strength of the God of Devils was too strong. The anti-heavenly dragon's armor had completely gained the upper hand over the eternal armor. The diamond-shaped jewel shining dark blue on the God of Devils' chest seemed to laugh at the eternal armor and its choice of the wrong heir. And the aura of Long Hao-Chen was getting weaker and weaker under the oppression of the God of Devils. Slowly, Long Hao-Chen closed his eyes. Had he already given up? The God of Devils was stunned slightly. He suddenly found that under the continued attack of his dark power, he seemed to encounter some hindrance, strong and stubborn sides. But he also had an unyielding mind. What's going on? The eyes of the God of Devils flashed a stern look, and behind the black sword, the swallowing of Yating paused for a moment. The diamond-shaped gemstone on his chest was bright, and a diamond-shaped dark blue lightning struck the divine stone of eternity on Long Hao-Chen's chest in an instant. Long Hao-Chen's whole body trembled violently. It was the absolute suppression of power. This was the gap in strength. The God of Devils knew that Long Hao-Chen was wearing an imperial weapon, but he wanted to peel it off directly from Long Hao-Chen in this way. Once he lost the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation, Long Hao-Chen would be just a lamb waiting to be slaughtered and could only be disposed of by him. From the beginning to the end, no matter what happened to the God of Devils, he could regain his composure after a brief shock or anger. This was because he had absolute strength and absolute confidence in his own strength. Every great hero who could dominate the world would have an absolute pride of his own. Electrolux, who claimed to be holding the sun and moon to pick the stars, and Feng Xiu, as the God of Devils, also had it. Long Hao-Chen's body seemed likely to collapse at any moment in the dark blue lights, but it stabilized at the next moment. The trembling stopped, and the spread of black in the eternal armor accelerated. But the 9 crown jewels on his forehead lit up at the same time. 9 colors shone, a special smell of dust was released from the eternal armor, and the 3 light balls suspended around Long Hao-Chen's body had become stagnant because of the invasion of the God of Devils also seemed to have been instantly endowed with vitality. A huge white light appeared behind Long Hao-Chen, as if to illuminate all the darkness, and when it appeared, an indescribable pressure pounded on the God of Devils. With the practice level of the God of Devils, he trembled violently in the face of this pressure, and his eyes showed a look of horror and fear. The next moment, the 3 light balls around Long Hao-Chen's body appeared behind him in the form of 3 figures at the same time. Ahead was Eastern's king, then the sacred dragon, and finally the eternal angel. The strength of the 3 strong people progressed step by step, and finally imprinted on the back of Long Hao-Chen. All of a sudden, on the eternal armor, the glittering white light bloomed, and the black spread in front of Long Hao-Chen converged to the center at an astonishing speed. Then the divine stone of eternity lit up. The majesty brought by the huge mass of light behind Long Hao-Chen was instantly assimilated by the divine stone of eternity. A glittering white light burst out in an instant, hitting the diamond-shaped gemstone on the chest position of the anti-heavenly dragon's armor. It was like the divine stone of eternity's response to the anti-heavenly dragon's armor with disdain and ridicule. Blasted by this white light, the God of Devils spread a layer of glittering white light all over his body, and his body exploded and retreated a kilometer away in an instant. Even Yating, who was swallowed on the black sword behind him, was shaken out at this moment and turned into a golden light and then returned to Long Hao-Chen's side. Long Hao-Chen's eyes were still closed, but Long Yating seemed to feel his will. A golden light flashed to the battlefield below, and she no longer Long Hao-Chen's weapon. The sword of eternity floated slowly in front of Long Hao-Chen, and the light of the divine stone of eternity on Long Hao-Chen's chest after it shook away the God of Devils, it was concentrated on the sword of eternity. The glittering and translucent glow made the sword of eternity radiate brilliance, and the 9 colors shone one by one. At the same time, the body of the sword became also slightly larger, the lines became smoother and refined, and the 9 colors were gradually embedded. A strange luster shone on the sword, and 9 runes emerged from the sword one after another, representing water, fire, earth, wind, light, darkness, ice, thunder and space. 9 attributes. There were also 9 colors. The imprint of each of the 9 symbols made the aura of the sword of eternity itself thicker and heavier. When the last symbol was imprinted, the sword of eternity turned in the air and turned into an upward hilt. And the whole sword was also completely embedded in the majesty that the God of Devils was afraid of. From this moment on, it was no longer the sword of eternity, but the sword of eternity and creation. The sword itself alone was also an imperial weapon. Compared with the change of the sword of eternity, The change of the eternal armor on Long Houchen was more obvious. The first thing that appeared around his body was the strong aura of life, and the soft power of life turned into a turquoise luster around his body into forests, shrubs, mountains and rivers, and all kinds of natural scenes flashed one by one. Finally, it all turned into green light and melted into the divine stone of eternity. Then there was the dazzling twinkle of colorful light, which turned into the spirit of beasts and the fragrance of birds and flowers. Thousands of creatures hovered quietly around his body. In the end, all the previous phantoms disappeared, and the sky was completely occupied by stars, and thousands of starlight were concentrated on Long Houchen, and when they appeared, the previously majestic light behind him turned into a round of white light. In the whole process of change, the eternal armor began to become more and more complicated. Countless magnificent patterns replaced the original softness, and layers of folds were displayed in the most perfect state. In particular, the sacred dragon and eternal angel sculptures on the left and right shoulder armor of Long Houchen were just like their real bodies. And when the last white light ring froze in the air, the figure of the three strong people of eternity also disappeared, thoroughly integrated into the eternal armor. The original three light groups around Long Houchen also completely disappeared. The god of devils was shocked to watch this scene in front of him in the distance, and his fear exerted such a strong pressure on his spirit that he forgot to attack when he saw the whole process of Long Houchen's changes. This was clearly the power of the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation. The sealed divine throne of eternity and creation originally controlled by Long Houchen did not seem to be the true face of this imperial weapon. And when it was fully awakened along with that creative majesty, the god of devils' incomparably firm confidence was shaken for the first time. The eternal armor and the sword of eternity had been transformed into the sword of eternity and creation and the armor of eternity and creation in the process of thorough awakening. This was the true power of the imperial weapon left by Genesis. No matter how strong the anti-heavenly dragon's pillar was, it couldn't be compared to the miracles left by the god of creation. The three groups of light originally surrounding Long Houchen was not yet the ability left to Long Houchen by this sealed divine throne, and only until this moment were they fully integrated with him. Under the strong oppression of the god of devils, the remnant of the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation was finally enraged, and finally triggered the real fusion between it and Long Houchen, so that the power of the imperial weapon was fully awakened. At this moment, Long Houchen's aura of confrontation with the god of devils finally appeared. It had also become an important turning point in their battle. The panic in the eyes of the god of devils gradually disappeared, replaced by a dignified feeling that the original victory had disappeared. Although he still did not think that Long Houchen could defeat him, he faced Long Houchen squarely for the first time and regarded him as an opponent who could compete with him. Long Houchen's eyes slowly opened, and his eyes were still golden. The moment when his eyes opened, they were surprisingly peaceful and moist. In the whole process of the awakening of the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation, Long Houchen's body and mind was also infiltrated by a strange soft force. His body seemed to be nourished by the forces of nature, life and stars in this short period of time. Long Houchen did not know to what extent the psychic power had increased, but for the first time he had the feeling that it was not difficult to fully control this imperial weapon. But his inner psychic power was even breaking the realm. Long Houchen did not know the exact amount of spiritual power, but when the spiritual power finally climbed to its peak, he was surprised to find that the spiritual power in his body was no longer golden, but turned into a clear, moist and white color. Level 9 of rank 9. Was this the power of level 9 of rank 9? Long Houchen believed in his feelings but was equally shocked by the power of the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation. When this imperial weapon of the creator was really awakened, it was able to lift his power to level 9 of rank 9. And this degree seemed to be the basic requirement to control the sealed divine throne of eternity and creation after its full awakening. Two pairs of eyes faced each other. The god of devils' eyes narrowed slightly. Very good, what an imperial weapon with an aura of creation. No wonder the first generation of the god of devils was badly hit by its outbreak and was killed. At first, I thought its power was nothing more than that. I didn't expect it to help you rise to the point where you can compete with me. But you should feel it, too. What Genesis left on this imperial weapon is only a trace of divine thoughts. And the Creator himself no longer exists in this world. Therefore, no matter how powerful this imperial weapon is, you are only a human being, not a god, who can control it. But I have already stepped into the realm of God. Just let me see how powerful this imperial weapon can be in your hands. As he spoke, the black sword behind the god of devils suddenly uttered a sound of dragon humming, and then it turned into a dark light rising into the sky. The giant sword went across the sky, and the dragon pattern of the anti-heavenly dragon emerged on the broad sword. At the moment of its liftoff, the viscous dark force suddenly turned into countless twisted spirals and sticky dark aura converging towards it. And the anti-heavenly dragon's armor of the god of devils also lit up. The anti-heavenly dragon's pillar in the distance suddenly disappeared in the same place. When it appeared again, it had become the back of the god of devils and turned the whole sky into a black and golden color. The confrontation between Long Houchen and the god of devils could still be felt by one or two, although the ordinary humans and devils could not be seen. When the god of devils' anti-heavenly dragon's pillar disappeared into thin air, the moon devil god Agares, who was fighting Xiaohua and Xu Yongxiao, and Vashak, the star devil god, looked at each other at the same time, and they both saw the shock and joy in each other's eyes. If anyone were to know the god of devils best in this world, it must be the two of them. It was because they were not only the two devil gods of the 72 pillars of the devil's clan, but also the two devil gods who were closest to the god of devils and knew the most about him. The god of devils not only exerted the deification of the devil, but also really used the power of the anti-heavenly dragon's pillar, which meant that the battle between the god of devils and Long Houchen suffered an unprecedented challenge. Moreover, there were no more powerful energy fluctuations in the air, which meant that the god of devils did not mobilize his strength to resist the power of Long Houchen. The balance of strength between the two sides was likely to be in a state of equilibrium. Although it was difficult for the moon devil god and the star devil god to believe that this actually happened, the fact was right in front of them. It was impossible for them not to believe. Xiaohua and Xu Yongxiao naturally noticed the change in the mood of the two devil gods. After looking at each other, Xu Yongxiao shouted, "The god of devils has been forced to be at a disadvantage by the chairman, and everyone will fight with all their strength. The union will win." While talking, Xu Yongxiao and Xiaohua pounced on the moon devil god and the star devil god at the same time, and the two great devil gods were losing ground. Xiaohua and Xu Yongxiao both knew it in their hearts. In terms of practice level, theirs might not be much different from the moon devil god and the star devil god, regardless of their identity and the growth of the devil pillar. From the beginning of the battle, Agares, the moon devil god, and Vasak, the star devil god, were trying to lose, and Long Houchen gave them a hint before the battle began. In addition to the god of devils, the two most powerful devil gods tried to lose on purpose. Otherwise, the scene would not be like this. Even the moon devils and star devils in the devil dragon's race had never gone all out to fight. Otherwise, why would it be in equilibrium with the temple union all the time? The moon devil god Agares had a different mind, thus creating an organization that belonged to the hybrid of men and devils, while the star devil god Vashak was loyal to the god of devils until the god of devils turned his anger on him and made him perform the prophecy of life. Vashak became desperate. Agares' concern for him and the only person willing to stand out for him at that time naturally brought the close relationship between the two devil gods closer. With the power of Agares and Vashak, if they each commanded their respective races together, then even the god of devils would have to weigh a few points. These two devil gods played an important role in the devil's clan. After many discussions, Agares and Vashak reached an agreement. Of course, they would not turn against god of devils openly. They knew too well how terrifying the power of the god of devils was. If the devil won, then they would die. The final strategy of the two devil gods was very simple: to fully support the Temple Federation in intelligence, while helping the Temple Federation to deceive the god of devils and create advantages and opportunities for mankind as much as possible. But they themselves would not take the initiative to turn against the water. In this critical battle, their people would make relative efforts, especially their confidants would be able to carry out their will perfectly on the battlefield. And then they would wait and see. They would wait and see if humans really have the power to defeat the god of devils. Only when humans defeated the god of devils would they have the possibility of real rebellion. Vashak was discouraged, as the great prophet of the devil's clan, but he also had 1/4 human blood in his body. This also became the key that Agares persuaded him. The life in the devil's clan was extremely boring. There was no creation, only destruction. Agares told Vashak that this god of devils could still keep his complete rule over mankind. But what about the next generation of devils? If Po was allowed to inherit the position of the god of devils, he wouldn't wait to wage a devastating war against mankind. And once human beings do not even have their own country, coupled with the oppression of the devil's clan, it might not take many years for them to eventually go to extinction. If they lost their own country, they would gradually lose their human culture, be assimilated by the devil's clan, and human creativity would be gradually destroyed. The devil's clan, a race that couldn't create and produce at all, would eventually perish after the complete extinction of mankind. Feng Xiu was definitely the best and most powerful one in all dynasties, but unfortunately, the biggest problem he faced was that he had no successors. Poe's flaw was not only known by Feng Xiu, but also by the other top devil gods. If Feng Xiu could support Poe for hundreds of years, he might still be able to hold down his position, otherwise, it would be difficult for him to suppress both Agares and Vashak. Just as Feng Xiu was the best god of devils in the history of the devil, Agares was also the best and most powerful moon devil god in the history of devils. With the practice level of level 9 of rank 8, the powerful moon devil's pillar, even Feng Xiu was also a bit afraid of him, and Agares had never shown all his strength. Agares knew precisely that today's Devil's Clan could be said to be the transformation of various races from the Holy Demon Land. After the arrival of the first generation of devils, which one of them was not the offspring of intercourse with humans or infected creatures in the world. Even the god of devils Feng Xiu had certain human genes which made him better. At that time, the birth of the 72 pillar devil gods was just a weapon, an incomparably powerful weapon in their original world. They had the soul and wisdom, but they did not really exist as creatures. It was precisely because of the gene injection of humans and various races in the Holy Demon Land that there was now the Devil's Clan. Therefore, Agares always believed that he was not a devil, but a person with special powers. Therefore, he urgently hoped that his descendants could really become human beings in the future, rather than passing on the devils. In his mind, there were only two possibilities for the future development of the world. All the races on the mainland would perish and eventually become a desert. Or it was mankind to reunify the continent, redevelop, and make the continent prosperous. It was obviously the latter that Agares wanted it to be. Because of this, Agares spared no effort to set up an organization to absorb those devils who had strong human lineage and aspire to be human. However, Agares' patience was also greater than that of anyone. As long as Longhauchen had not defeated the god of devils, he would never launch in an all-round way. He knew the god of devils too well, and he could deeply feel the god of devils' terrifying strength. Below the divine level, Agares still had the strength to fight. But after Feng Xiu broke through the limit of 1 million psychic powers a few years ago, although he also suffered great pressure and pain, his strength, as he said to Longhauchen, had completely reached another level. Therefore, on the battlefield, Agares and Vashak did not command the strong men of other devil gods and devil's clans, and they themselves deliberately tried to lose. Although the practice levels of Yongxiao and Xiaohua were not weak, there was a slight gap between them and those devil gods who have not yet used the devil's deification. Agares and Vashak did more in the battle to free up their hands to save their own race from time to time. As for the devil dragons, the strong devils and devil gods of other races, they didn't even care. This led to a strange phenomenon. Anti-heavenly devil dragon, as the largest race of devils, the number of casualties was even higher than that of moon devils and star devils. The first person who responded to the sound of Yongxiao's counterattack was Lin Xin, who had been confronted with the angel devil god by men for a long time, and neither side did their best. The sudden shout of Shu Yongxiao aroused Lin Xin in an instant. However, the target of his attack was not the angel devil god. The holy sun hanging above Lin Xin's head suddenly went out without warning. A silver light that was not strong shone on him, and he disappeared in an instant. The angel devil god by men only felt that the pressure was empty, and his opponent could not be seen out of thin air, which immediately made him dull for a moment. Lin Xin is clearly a fire wizard, how can he use space magic again? If that's the case, why didn't he use it in the previous battle? This thought came into Bayman's mind at once. Bayman was stupefied by this sudden change, that the situation of a small-scale battle changed dramatically because of Lin Xin's disappearance. Like Lin Xin, the silver glint on his body was Kia, and the next moment, Lin Xin appeared by her side. The domain of Blink. Longhauchen wanted to fight the god of devils, and leaving the domain of Blink had no effect on his body. And this powerful equipment, which was more suitable for the battlefield, was obviously more appropriate to be used by Kia. Apart from Longhauchen, Kia's practice level was the highest in the Light Dawn Demon Hunter group. Kia cooperated with the 12 sacred saints to besiege Sidi, the love devil god, Bryce, the rhythm devil god, and Elijah, the snake gun devil god. In the case of Elijah's use of devil's deification alone, Kia still had an advantage with the help of the domain of purification and the Tower of Eternity to the 12 sacred saints. Lin Xin's appearance was extremely sudden, and without warning. He was obviously ready a long time ago, and as soon as he appeared, the sun shone brightly and wide above his head, and then a layer of golden glow burned from the praise of the brilliant sacred flame on him, which was an additional skill, the glory praise, of the immortal magic robe. The fire of immortal dragon was held high, and with a loud roar of the dragon, a huge golden red-bibbed cock emerged from the holy sun. And its color was instantly transformed into blue and gold under the action of the heart fire. The dragon head struggled, and unexpectedly broke free from the holy sun. At the same time, between Lin Xin's chest and abdomen, there was another loud sound of the phoenix. The blue fire phoenix swayed and flew away with the brilliance of blue and gold. A dragon and a phoenix, instantly entangled in the air, condensed in front of Lin Xin into a huge blue beam of light. The target was the devil-deified snake gun devil god Elijah. While Lin Xin started to take action, Kia also moved. The 12 sacred saints combined at full speed, and the 2 6-colored hexagram stars took shape in an instant. As soon as Kia flashed, she reached the core position of the legal array. The love devil god Cd and the rhythm devil god Bryce were all shrouded in countless shadows from the sickle of death in her hands. The 7 steps of death. Not only that, Kia was obviously ready to cooperate with the offensive launched by Lin Xin's arrival. A white lotus flower quietly flew out, just before Lin Xin arrived, and landed in front of Elijah, the snake gun devil god. Elijah was 3 meters tall, with majestic muscles naked in his upper body, and the long gun in his hand was transformed by a giant snake. After the devil's deification, he grew 6 tons behind him, which were ready to attack at any time. The dark atmosphere was domineering. The combat effectiveness was extremely strong. And each snake head contained a different kind of poison. Even if one smelled a little, one would be deeply affected, so much so that Kia did not approach him to attack. However, now he had to face the strongest attack that Lin Xin had planned for a long time. This video will end here.